Hey guys, you don't see me use too many single edge razors, but today's going to be one. I got this one in and I haven't tried it yet. Used razor, these just kind of come in, good catch. They come in and it's very head weighted, and so that's why it slipped out of my hands. I wasn't quite expecting it to be that way. The balance point is right here. It just kind of came to me as a part of a purchase of several soaps. And so that's actually where I end up having most of my single edges. This one is called the Contour, and it is part of it's stainless steel. They did make a Contour 2, and I believe I just read on the internet that it said that that was one of the last gems that was made, gem models, and single edges. And you just kind of push the tab in the back and it pops up. It says gem on the plastic part of the handle here. It says gem in there as well. And we'll load that up in a second. The common answer to what blade should I use with the gem are these PTFE blades. So I've got one of those. This may have 9 uses on it, which I think is really getting high for a gem. And so my shave may be inferior. I'm going to try the same Williams mug soap I used yesterday. I'm going to try a slightly different method today. I'm not going to bloom it. We'll see how that goes. And then I'm going to try, a couple days ago I used this brush. This is a That Darn Rob. And it's got a mahogany handle, and the tips of this V3 knot do have some gel. Based on my first use of it, that's not too much gel, and so I'm really happy about that. I don't like a lot of gel. But what got in my way was, as so many times happens with me and these modern knots, the density, just so many hairs all up there in the middle of the knot, and I didn't really get very good splay and flex with it. But that was just first use. Let's try it some more and see if we can improve that. I've had it soaking, got to get those tips to be non-crispy, and they've already achieved that, as you can see. Let's load up the blade. I did take a shower about an hour ago, so my face is clean. And here's that PTFE blade. And in case you're totally new to this kind of blade, this is definitely not the same kind you can get at the hardware store for paint scrapers, things like that. This is very different. Do not use that utility kind with these single edge razors. And there's not much to it. There's really kind of only one way that it can sit in there. And it has 2 corners, and the blade sits right up on those 2 corner posts. And then you just snap it down. The word on the net was that this was a more mild shaver. I'm really happy about that. The Gem Micromatic Open Comb was super aggressive, and I do not enjoy shaving with that one. Try to remember my technique. One of the issues that I found about the Micromatic was to try to keep the blade pretty parallel with the skin. Instead of something like a 30-degree angle in terms of the handle that a double edge might use, this is very different. This type of razor can be very different from that, so pay attention to that when you use it. All right, let's get my face wet. I think we're pretty much ready to go. About 25 or so hours since my last shave, so pretty normal. What I'm going to do today is not soak the Williams like I did yesterday. I'm going to keep with that 30-second load time because I'm not soaking it. Yesterday, the 30-second load gave me 8 passes of nice Williams lather. I don't need that many. So instead of reducing the time to something like 15 and trying that and keeping the soaking, I thought, why don't we see if we can establish a non-soaking time and see if that's reasonable. But basically what yesterday happened was, I can explain this while I'm working the lather up. I'm going to shake the water out, most of it. And this is important. 2 things that are important with this method of Williams, which I think is easy, relatively quick, and kind of foolproof. It doesn't require a lot of steps, a lot of weird steps. Just a couple of steps. Number 1, don't come at it with a super wet brush. Okay. Number 2, when you have already loaded and you're ready to go into the bowl and work it in the bowl, don't add water yet. Add water work it for a while and let the water in the knot combined with the soap in the knot to form that early lather first. Let that happen. In essence, you're adding water slowly is the key here. All right, let's do a 30-second load. We'll start at the 15-second mark and just see if we're able to pick up enough soap. This is a hard soap. This is the new version, which, I don't know, 2005 or something like that it came out. Well, judging from the suds we're getting, I don't think we're going to have a problem with loading at all. I think we'll definitely be able to have this not be one that we need to pre-soak. And that's 30 seconds. So I've got a nice little lather coming down. This is what the brush looks like. And then you can use that lather to kind of pre-wash your face if you want. I'm just gonna kind of push it into the bowl. It's cheap. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of soap in that, so you're not wasting a lot of product if you just rinse that down the drain. One nice thing about establishing a routine that doesn't have pre-soaking is that you don't have that water that you use to bloom the soap to soak it in. You don't have that going right down the drain, assuming you don't pour it into your bowl. So here's the second part. As I'm working this up, I'm not going to add water right away. I'm going to allow it to kind of mature into an early pasty thing, assuming that 30 seconds is going to be an adequate amount of soap. And I hit this idea, and I tried it for the first time yesterday because this is the same technique I use for Mystic water soaps. They are wonderfully slick soaps. The scents sometimes are a little bit low. Now we've got kind of a normal pasty looking lather here. Now we can start to add water and treat it more like a normal type shaving experience. I think in the past, even I was adding water a little too quickly. Some people definitely approach it with a brush that has too much water in it. I was coming at it too quickly with the water, and that made it get really airy quickly. And I did discover the solution to that is just keep mixing. But, and so what that was having to do was then to, mix the air out of it and turn it into a nice creamy lather. Well, what if we just don't let it get all airy and bubbly right away? See, look, this is what a lot of soaps look like at this stage. And so I think I found a way to kind of have it be treated like a more normal soap. I'm going to go ahead and add 1.5 teaspoons. So we've got 2.5 total teaspoons of water in the mix right now. I think a lot of people just come at it with, and if they're coming at it too wet. Either they push a lot of water into it. Now, of course, this is bowl lathering. I do not know the secret to it for face lathering to get that nice creamy lather that you're going to see. Yeah, I mean, already that looks tremendous. That is 3.5 teaspoons total. And that's looking pretty good. That didn't take minutes and minutes and minutes. Nearly like some of my other Williams videos. I'm really happy to, because some of my other videos, it takes about 15 minutes to get the lather. Now, sure, a couple of the minutes in the beginning are showing you the gear, like I did today. Look at that. And so that shouldn't count against it, but still, it's a long process. And I hate saying, well, you just have to, Williams are great as long as you don't have short amount of time. And so I'm glad to see we can get this nice lather going in a regular amount of time, at least for me. And we've got plenty. Where'd that hair come from? I don't have hairs that long. Where did that come from? That's a mystery. And so we've got tons of lather right here. So maybe 30 seconds is a little too much. I'm glad to have a dry puck load method. Don't have to worry about soaking or anything like that. Why don't we try it? Well, let's run it a little thicker this time and just see what we end up with. Just mix it for just a little bit longer. Normally I might add a little bit more water to this, but this lather's not going to dissipate. Many people make that remark, and it's just because they didn't either load enough soap or they put too much water too quickly and it bubbled up and got airy. All right, get my face wet. So let's see if the backbone of this continues to stay strong, or we can get it to relax with some use. I don't know the differences between the different versions of the Fanchurian knot. See, already I could kind of stop right there and go at it if I was pressed for time. Now we can see, anytime you can see, look at all these chunks and stuff. That's usually a sign that you can add more water to the lather if you want to. Working it into the skin. Also, Williams can dry your skin out if you don't add enough water, then it'll be in too high of a concentration. If you've loaded too much on your brush, then you've just got such a high concentration of soap on your skin, and I can definitely see how that could be a problem. I'm going to put another teaspoon in the bowl, and we'll mix that up in a minute. So I guess right now we're looking at, I think 5.5 teaspoons of water. So it's still taking quite a bit of water. And while I will let this soak into my skin a little bit, I'll go ahead and kind of make this a little bit more uniform. Mix in that water I just added. Holy cow, 30 seconds, tons of lather. Wow. Looks like I could reduce that. Don't have to soak it at all. This is a tremendous, I mean, look at this. People don't think you can get this kind of lather from Williams. It's got a classic scent, kind of that classic soapy scent. It's very strong the first few days, but then it settles down. Got that citronella, it's a citronella type scent, but it turns into more of a light classic soapy after a few days. All right, I'm gonna try to remember to keep my angle with the razor very close to the skin, with the handle out more to try to keep the blade parallel is what I meant to say. Definitely not being all tuggy or anything like that. do like the double edges a little bit better than this particular razor. Now let's see what happens if I open up the angle. Yeah, it feels more scrapey. I think I like the feel better when it's almost as close to my face as I can get it. But it feels good and consistent. It's a firm blade because it's a thicker blade. And so it feels, I don't feel in any danger as long as I don't mess up with the sideways stroke or something like that. Pretty cool. Didn't find a lot of fans with it with my cursory searching. I think maybe the other models might be a little bit more desirable for people who do like this type of razor. And rinse. Wow, that did not actually do a very good job of cutting. The reason it felt so good was it wasn't being effective. So maybe my conservative approach was allowing the blade to be at the wrong angle. So let's try kind of a more normal angle here. Also, we don't mind it if not everything is taken off on the first pass. Even with double edges, a lot of times what we're going for is just beard reduction, not elimination in one pass. So I'm just kind of going to go with instinct from here on out instead of trying to keep that head kind of flat. Well, let me rinse it so you can see it. Instead of trying to keep the head flat up against the skin, just kind of go by feel. Let's see if that works. Got some audio there. As the yeah, it continues to reduce. I think it did better this time. Of course, I think these single edges, I might not be able to take those really far because the double edges are thinner, and because these guys are thicker, I think when they do dull, it'll be different. And so I may be only able to take this one to 20 or maybe even 15. I mean, who knows? We'll see. But it does seem to be degrading a little quicker than the double edges. Well, a lot quicker than the double edges. All right. It is gradually reducing, but this may be why this model isn't as enjoyed by as many people, or we cannot ignore the fact that this is a new razor to me and I just may not quite be using it like it should be used. So it could be operator error, that's for sure, or maybe I need to put a new blade in it, maybe. The single edges, I think some people are saying they can maybe take them to, 10 or 12 or something like that in terms of uses. And if you're only able to get, 3 uses out of a double-edged razor blade, then that represents a longer duration for sure. And so then some people don't mind that the single edge blades cost more than the double edges. The Blackland Saber definitely shaves a lot better than this one. Of course, it costs a lot of money. And it's beautiful stainless steel and all kinds of gorgeous goodness. So the result of this shave, it's reasonable. It eventually got it done. But I wouldn't really call it enjoyable. Definitely not nearly as good as many of the double-edged razors and probably a couple of the other single-edged razors that are out there. I don't know what they were trying to improve with this, whether they were trying to improve the shave or just give a different look with the handle and things like that. I think it looks nice. Now, just to show you, 30 seconds of loading. Looks like 6 teaspoons of water. And we still have 3 passes of lather here, ready to go. I did feel the backbone today. We'll keep using it and see what happens to that. It wasn't as nice. I definitely got the feeling of the gel tips were really soft on the tips, and then but the backbone was firm, supporting it. And I don't like that feeling as much as I do when you have easy splay with maybe a high mountain white or a silver tip, you know, or just a finest badger that's got a little bit more room to play and it's not quite as stiff. And so the comfort, while these tips are crazy soft to my face, to my fingers as I'm moving them around, it's just luxurious. But when you're scrubbing on your face and you're trying to get that splay going, you don't feel that softness quite as much. Notice none of my lather dissipated here. So it looks like this is a great way. Now at least I figured out that I do not have to bloom the Williams. So anytime I want to whip that out and go for it, it doesn't have to be a long, complicated ordeal. We've got a nice lather. I'm going to clean up. I'm not going to put my balm on right now, just to kind of prove to you guys, evaluate the post-shave experience here. Sure, Williams doesn't really have any moisturizing parts of it, but that's okay. It's going to be on the shelf forever and be just fine. Still be a usable soap. It's very slick. We'll just kind of clean up. Yeah, pretty much 6 teaspoons of water. What I put together today. My little yogurt cup that I soak brushes in. Even though these single edge blades may give more uses with some people, if you get to the 12s or something like that, when compared to a person who uses it only 3 times with a double edged blade, and there are lots of people out there that I think they don't know that they can go further if they wanted to, or don't bother to improve their technique, or for whatever reason. And if you like just 3 or 2 or just 1 shave per blade, that's your choice. But I think there are a lot of guys who could choose it if they knew, were more informed. But yeah, the single edge does compare nicely and give more shaves compared to that kind of user of a double-edged blade. But when you're a person like me and you can easily get 30, 40, 50 shaves out of a double-edged blade, all of a sudden any of those shaves were more enjoyable than the one I had with this. And this one doesn't have a ton of uses on it, but it has, you know, I think it's 9, maybe, might be what it is. You can check the description of the video if you're curious. So in the light of those type of double-edged usage numbers, then this one does start to have some weaknesses. Later on, maybe I'll pop a new PTFE blade into it and give it another shave. It's not going to cost me anything to keep it around because it doesn't cost anything to buy. So I can let it sit for a few years if I feel like it. The Gem Contour, not bad. It'll do the job. And it seems to be of decent build quality, pretty simplistic. And I think it would last, as we can see, it's lasted a good many years already. All right, you guys, there we go. Successful with Williams, pretty easy, relatively fast lather with that. Nothing really complicated like some of my other Williams videos as I've tried to figure it out. Treating it like Mystic Water, just add water slowly. Get that lather up in the beginning before you really start adding extra water in. seems, if you're a bowl lather, that seems to be a secret to a nice, easy experience with Williams. Well, this is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I sure hope there's been something good in here for you. You take care. Bye.